You see it everywhere. People trying so hard to seem happy, seem successful, seem like they've figured it out. But it's all just performance. There was once a version of you that lived without shame. Not because you were proud, but because you had nothing to hide. No mask to wear, no audience to impress. You woke up with the sun, drank from the stream, and walked barefoot through the grass. Not to feel anything in particular, but simply because you were alive, and that was enough. But then something happened. You looked up and saw someone watching you. From that moment, you were no longer just yourself. You were being seen, and so for the first time, you wondered how you appeared, what they thought of you, whether you were enough. This Rousseau believed was the beginning of the end. Man is born free-heroed, and everywhere he is in chains. And not just political chains, the deeper kind. The kind that make you forget who you are, and instead become who you think you should be. To Rousseau, modern man was no longer free, because he had become dependent on opinion. He no longer acted out of instinct or conscience, but out of comparison, competition, vanity. He was no longer natural, he was civilized. And that for Rousseau was the real tragedy of progress. Before society, he believed humans were gentle, solitary and free. We didn't need language or money or hierarchy. We had everything we needed in nature, not in abundance but in balance. Yes, life was simple, but it was whole. This was not utopia, it was innocence. But the moment we left that state, the moment we stepped into the artificial world of culture, we began to decay. We learned to speak, but forgot how to be silent. We gained wealth, but lost contentment. We built cities, but became estranged from the earth and from ourselves. And with every step forward, we left something behind. The first man who, having enclosed a piece of ground, thought of saying, "This is mine," and found people simple enough to believe him. That man was the true founder of civil society. That was the turning point. Ownership, property. The idea that something could belong to me instead of us. And once we accepted that lie, it spread everywhere. Into love, into friendship, into identity. Suddenly, everything had a price, even your worth. We call it civilization. He called it a slow death. It is in man's heart that the pernicious passions are born, but society cultivates and nourishes them. What Rousseau saw, and what the modern man refuses to admit, is that our suffering isn't accidental. It was engineered. We are taught to envy, to compete, to hide ourselves. We are told this is what it means to grow up, to be successful, to be normal. But inside, something resists, something remembers. Something still longs to go back. But can we? Or are we too far gone? Imagine being surrounded by people, and yet feeling completely invisible. Not because they can't see you, but because they only see your reflection. A version of you carefully crafted for approval, shaped by fear, polished by comparison. This is the life Rousseau saw around him, not one of connection, but of performance. Is the so-called civilized world. You are no longer asked who you are. You are asked, what do you do? How do you look? What have you achieved? And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to answer with a custom. We no longer dare to appear what we are, but rather to be what we are not. This is the mask of civilization. Not a lie told once, but a lie lived every day. We laugh when we are empty. We flatter those we resent. We follow fashions we hate and worship success we don't even understand. And we tell ourselves, this is just life. But Rousseau didn't believe that. He believed that civilization, as we know it, is an elaborate theater of vanity, competition, and alienation. That the more advanced we become, the more estranged we grow from our original selves. Because where nature taught us to feel, society teaches us to compare. Amour de soi, the love of self, Rousseau saw as a natural, healthy instinct, the desire to survive, to live, to flourish. But society replaces it with the more prop, the love of image, the need to be seen as better than others, stronger, smarter, superior. And this is where freedom dies, not in chains, but in mirrors. We don't want to be ourselves. We want to be seen as someone worth being. This is why we envy the happy, not because we want their joy, but because we want the glow of their appearance. This is why we fear humiliation more than suffering, why we crave recognition even when we despise the crowd. In a natural state, Rousseau believed a human was whole, but in society, the soul is split in two: the inner self that feels and the outer self that performs. And the longer we play the role, the more the real self disappears. Civilized man is born, lives, and dies in a state of slavery. Not just political slavery, but emotional, psychological, and even spiritual. We don't serve tyrants, we serve expectations. We serve beauty standards, algorithms, job titles, curated identities, hollow friendships. We say we are free, but we spend our lives trying to become something we are not, just to be accepted by others or doing the exact same thing. It's not a society, it's a hall of mirrors, and behind every mirror, there is silence. We have fallen far from the forest. The masks are heavy, the mirrors endless, the noise unbearable. And yet, Rousseau didn't give up on humanity. He believed that inside each of us, even now, there is a quiet voice, a memory almost, of what it meant to be whole, of what it meant to live without fear and pretense. It's faint, buried beneath layers of performance, but it's there. And the question is, can we return? Not to the wilderness, that world is gone. Rousseau knew that, but maybe to something deeper, something before society, yet still within it. Because to Rousseau, real freedom was not about escaping into solitude forever. It was about rebuilding society from the inside out. A new kind of society, one that didn't just tame the wild, but honored it. That didn't just organize people, but liberated them. This is where he gives us the paradox at the heart of his thinking. To be forced to be free. It sounds strange, even cruel, but he meant something profound. He believed that true freedom isn't doing whatever you want. That kind of freedom just turns into chaos, into domination, into inequality, into fear. Real freedom, he said, comes from living under laws you give yourself. Not the laws of kings, corporations, or crowds, but a collective will, born from shared values, mutual respect, and a deep understanding of human nature. He called this the social contract, a society where no one is above the law, because the law is not a weapon, it is a mirror, a reflection of our deepest, most authentic instincts, to care, to coexist, to be whole. But to get there, we have to let go of the illusions, of wealth as happiness, of image as identity, of progress as salvation, because none of that will save us. The first step toward virtue is to go back to ourselves. To Rousseau, salvation was not found in advancement, but in return. Not in living in the past, but in remembering what we were before we forgot ourselves. Not in dismantling society, but in reshaping it to reflect something true. Because you were not born for this noise. You were not born to be liked, to be watched, to be judged. You were not born to be compared, polished, perfected, marketed. You were born to live, to feel the earth beneath your feet, to laugh without audience, to speak from the soul. You were born free, and the world made you forget. But if forgetting is possible, then so is remembering. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, consider liking and subscribing. There's more to come on the strange mystery of being human.